Yeah, I went to an artist residency with, it was called Iron and Wood in Penland, North Carolina, which is School of Arts and Crafts there. And the first night of the gathering, they decided to make a bench. And they had this piece of wood, and there was no way of cutting it apart, so they got a bunch of wedges and started pounding it into the wood to separate the piece for the bench top. And then, and I thought nothing of it, you know, just wedges, you use them every day, you never think about it. And it kind of gave me an idea that, you know, you could use that wedge in different ways to move wood, move metal, to manipulate it. For me, I started out as a furniture maker. And so everything, it seems, has to have that function. And again, in this show, I've made a lot of pieces that are just sculptural objects. And I do depart a lot from function, but it's always there with me, like, can you use that? Monday morning, before I was going to deliver on Tuesday, and I had this one piece I wanted to do, and this is it here. It's called All Wedged Out, and it's just how I feel about this whole process. You know, you get to the point and you're on the last day of it, and you're starting to lose it almost, and so I had to do a piece that kind of showed that. This piece kind of all wedged out, it culminates all that angst that you have about things. You know, as an artist, you wake up and you think to yourself, like, what am I doing every morning, making things about wedges? I think when you get together with a whole bunch of creative minds, and you aren't there with the notion that you're just going to do your normal practice, and you've left your brain open to new input, I find it always happens with me. I walk away from a collaboration or a gathering with people, always with a new direction in my work. Well, I went to Joe's place and I said, Joe, can we do some work together? I'd like to put some wedges into your work. And I was like, you know, to ask another artist to be able to take some of their work and manipulate it in another way that isn't theirs. I was ready for rejection right there, but he said, no, what would you want to do? I said, well, I need 2 heads of yours. So I call these Wedge Hunting on Joe's farm. I think it's important with exhibitions to entertain. And the whole idea of the wedge is, I've explored it many different ways, from installations outside, scenarios that are just bizarre or surreal. And on a more serious note, I was at a collaboration called Stonehouse in Pincher Creek area of Alberta, and on the Old Man River, and we built a stone wedge about 20 feet long that heads right upstream into the river. So it kind of divides the river up. And all of that has been, you can't bring those to the exhibition, so they've been documented in photography. What this is it's a snow wedge bench for winter use. It's actually to drive away winter earlier. Put a wedge in winter. And hopefully it'll go away fast. I remember last year when I was working on it last year, and the winter went on forever and ever. And it's sort of like this, I just had to do something to counteract winter, so I made a wedge and I just put it in different locations in the snow and the snowbanks, and it was just my way of putting a wedge in winter and trying to get rid of it. And out of that came a whole serious bunch of paintings that I did. about wedges and in landscapes. So they're landscapes in some ways, but they're also studies for other objects that I'll probably make yet. I guess I've approached the whole idea of the wedge any way that it will come to you, from fun to serious, and a lot of the ideas that I'm playing with now, which are maquettes or models, I'm starting to interject into scenarios of everyday, like that could be outdoor sculpture. And so I'm taking them and starting to scale them up from a small handheld model to 20, 30 feet and beyond. The whole idea of these, when I first started making some, was I saw them in a whole different scale. I saw these really as just maquettes, and that they could become 20, 30-foot sculptures that were outside. As an artist, I just want to have fun in what I do all the time. And not everything is just going to be serious about having to make a living at the art that I do, but if I can't go in different directions and explore new ideas that I get in my head, it'd be like you had a job every day and that you have to go and do this. So by me breaking away and studying the wedge and playing with it, it's going to open up whole new directions in what I'm going to do in my work and for the future. In a lot of ways, the work in this show is a real departure from my normal practice of what I do as an artist. And you get, ideas, and it's nice to revisit a familiar material that you've worked with before, or ideas. So a bowl of strange wedge fruit was just another exploration of how I can take the abstract of what fruits are and interject the wedge and the idea of that into it. And so they're just little experiments, but all together they're a bowl of strange wedge fruit. The piece called Expedition, and it's like all these wedge heads get in their canoe and away they go on an adventure. And those were pieces that, again, came from this exploration. When you seriously approach a project in your life, it stays with you forever. And it may not be the focus of your work, but once in a while, you're going to get an idea where that wedge is really going to work for a design. This wedge, or approaches to new explorations in any artist's work, it takes you away from your normal comfort zone, because there's been so many times what am I doing? You'd wake up, you say, okay, now I'm making things with wedges all day, and you question yourself, because you've never done it before. What you're creating is all new, and there's always that question of validating that work that you've made. I started looking at my work, and the whole concept of wedge, I think it's just part of our whole culture. It's been around forever, and we just take it for granted. And all of a sudden you start to do a show about wedges, and you realize that it's deeper than just that one study that you're doing for a show. But it runs a lot deeper inside of you. For me to go and make lots of beautiful bowls and things I've always done, but I think the exciting part of being an artist is that new exploration, that unfound area of yourself, what's in you, what can you bring out with a new exploration.
If you have program ideas that you'd like to see on Local On Demand, write us at max.local@sastel.com. Max Local programming is now available online at maxonline.sastel.com.